The Shape of Ordinary Things. Chapter 1. Lena listened to the voicemail again beside the refrigerator doors glowing blue with cold light. The woman sounded calm. Mid-30s, maybe older. Not young enough to sound reckless, not old enough to sound tired. There was traffic somewhere behind her voice. A car horn. Wind crossing the speaker for half a second. "I think you should know," the woman said. "I didn't realize he was married at first." Then silence. Not static. Not interference. Real silence. As though the caller had stopped to reconsider everything she was about to ruin. Lena stood without moving while someone reached past her for a carton of milk. The refrigerator motor hummed steadily beside her ear. Somewhere near the registers, glass shattered and a child started crying. The voicemail continued. "He told me you were separated. I'm sorry if that isn't true." That was all. No name. No number she recognized. Just the pause afterward, long enough to feel intentional before the message clicked off. For a moment Lena thought there had to be some mistake. Wrong person. Wrong husband. Wrong number. Then she looked at the screen again and saw Adam's name at the top of her recent calls from an hour earlier. Missed call. She had ignored it while comparing prices on pasta sauce. A strange detail to remember. Later, she would remember dozens of useless details from that exact moment. The crack in the supermarket tile near her shoe. The smell of oranges from the produce section. The way a cashier laughed too loudly at something a customer said. But not her own breathing. She couldn't remember that at all. Her basket suddenly felt too heavy for what was inside it. Bread, yogurt, coffee filters. The ordinary architecture of a shared life. Lena placed the basket carefully on the floor and pressed call back before she could think long enough to stop herself. The number rang twice. Then voicemail. "You've reached Nora. Leave a message." Nora. Lena almost spoke. Instead she ended the call and stared at the name as if something inside it should explain the last 10 years of her marriage. A man brushed past her cart with an apology. She nodded automatically. Her hands were cold. Adam had been distant lately, but distance could mean anything after 12 years together. Fatigue, work, routine. People drifted a little and returned. Marriage moved in weather patterns. Some months required patience more than romance. At least that was what she had always believed. 3 weeks earlier, Adam had fallen asleep on the couch with his laptop open beside him. Lena remembered covering him with a blanket before noticing the hotel reservation confirmation glowing on the screen. 2 nights in Milwaukee. He had told her the conference lasted 1 day. When she asked about it the next morning, he barely looked up from his coffee. The meetings changed. Simple. Immediate. Reasonable. She had accepted the answer because marriage sometimes meant choosing the explanation that allowed the day to continue. Now, standing under fluorescent supermarket lights, she felt something rearranging itself inside her memory. Not dramatically, quietly, like furniture being moved in another room. She picked up her basket and walked toward the checkout lanes. The cashier greeted her without looking up. "How's your afternoon going?" Lena opened her mouth, then stopped. "Fine," she said. The word came out smoothly enough to sound true. Outside, rain had started falling in thin, diagonal lines across the parking lot. She unlocked the car and sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. Her phone rested in her lap. Nora. The name should have meant nothing. Instead, it already carried weight. The dangerous kind people assign to strangers who arrive attached to someone they love. Lena leaned her forehead briefly against the steering wheel. She tried to picture Adam clearly. Not Adam as her husband. Not Adam beside her in bed or reading Sunday headlines or forgetting where he left his glasses. Just Adam, 39 years old, careful with money, patient in traffic. The kind of man who returned shopping carts even in bad weather. A person who kissed her shoulder absent-mindedly while passing through the kitchen. Not careless. That was what unsettled her most. If he had betrayed her, she could not imagine recklessness being the cause. It would have happened slowly, thoughtfully, with the same quiet attention he gave everything else. Her phone vibrated suddenly in her hand. "Adam." For several seconds, she only watched the screen light against the dim interior of the car. Then she answered. "Hey," he said. His voice sounded normal. Too normal. "You disappeared earlier. I was shopping." "Oh." A pause. "Did you get the coffee?" She closed her eyes. "Yes." "Good. I forgot to text you, but Claire invited us over Friday. I told her we'd probably come." Rain tapped softly against the windshield now, steady enough to blur the cars beyond her. Lena listened to him breathing. Somewhere in the background, she heard the muted clink of dishes. He was already home. "I got a voicemail," she said. Silence. Not long. Maybe 2 seconds. But in marriage, 2 seconds could contain an entire confession. "What voicemail?" he asked carefully. And there it was. Not confusion. Not surprise. Carefulness. Lena stared through the rain-covered windshield at a woman returning a shopping cart with one hand while holding her coat closed with the other. Ordinary life continuing everywhere around her. "I think," Lena said slowly, "you should tell me who Nora is." Nothing moved on the other end of the line. Then Adam exhaled once, quietly enough that another person might not have noticed it. But Lena did, because after 12 years together, she had learned the meaning of his silences before his words. Adam did not answer immediately. Lena could hear movement in the background now. A cabinet door closing softly, water running for a second, then stopping. The familiar sounds of their kitchen suddenly felt unbearable to listen to. "Lena," he said at last, "I think we should talk about this at home." The sentence landed heavily because of how ordinary it was. Not denial, not outrage, just delay. She looked through the windshield at the rain slipping down the glass in narrow, crooked paths. "Who is she?" Another pause. "A woman I met through work." Lena laughed once under her breath. She did not mean to. The sound surprised both of them. "That sounds rehearsed." "It isn't. But you already knew what I meant." Adam said nothing. The parking lot had begun filling with reflections from headlights. People crossed between cars carrying paper bags against their coats. One couple argued quietly near the cart return, their voices flattened by rain. Lena remembered another rainy evening 6 years earlier when Adam drove 40 minutes after work because she had called crying from the side of the road with a flat tire. He arrived soaked through, kneeling in dirty water without complaint while she stood holding an umbrella over both of them badly. Afterward, he took her for pie at a diner outside town because her hands would not stop shaking. She remembered thinking then, this is what safety feels like. Now she wondered how long memory could remain trustworthy after love changed shape. "Did you sleep with her?" Lena asked. Adam inhaled slowly. "I don't want to do this over the phone." The carefulness again. Not anger that she asked. Not confusion about why. Carefulness meant management. It meant selecting words before they caused damage. Lena rested her head against the seat. "You know what's strange?" she said quietly. "If you'd denied it immediately, I might have believed you for at least another hour. That isn't fair." "No," she agreed. "Probably not." A car pulled into the space beside her. A woman in scrubs stepped out carrying flowers wrapped in grocery store plastic. Yellow ones, bright against the gray rain. Lena watched her hurry toward another car where an older man waited in the passenger seat. Ordinary tenderness. The sight of it hurt unexpectedly. "Nothing happened the way you think it did," Adam said. There it was. The sentence people used when the truth existed but needed softer edges. Lena closed her eyes. How did it happen? Adam was quiet long enough that she almost thought he would refuse to answer. Then he said, "It started last winter. Last winter." The words moved through her slowly. Not recent. Not impulsive. A season. Lena tried to attach the information to real memories. Christmas at her sister's house. Adam helping hang lights on the porch. The weekend they stayed in bed until noon during the snowstorm and ordered Chinese food because the roads were closed. All that time, another life had apparently been unfolding beside theirs. "Do you love her?" Lena asked. This time Adam answered too quickly. "I don't know." The honesty of it struck harder than denial would have. Rain hammered briefly against the roof of the car before softening again. Lena looked at her wedding ring resting pale against the steering wheel. When they married, Adam had trembled slightly during the vows. Almost nobody noticed except her. He was never comfortable being watched emotionally. Even happiness embarrassed him a little. After the ceremony, he whispered, "I thought I'd be calmer than this." She kissed him because she loved that nervousness in him. Loved that sincerity still cost him something. Now she tried to imagine him touching another woman with those same careful hands. The thought arrived without drama. Just exhaustion. "Did you want to leave me?" she asked. "No." The answer came immediately. Too immediately. Lena frowned slightly. "Then what did you want?" For the first time since the call began, Adam sounded genuinely lost. "I don't know." And that, more than anything else, frightened her. Not betrayal. Not sex. Not even lying. Confusion. A confused person could destroy a marriage while still believing himself decent. A horn sounded somewhere across the parking lot. Lena realized she had been sitting there nearly 20 minutes. "I'm coming home," she said. Adam exhaled softly again. Relief this time. "Okay." She almost ended the call. Then she asked, "Does she know about me now?" Silence. A different silence than before. Not guilt. Recognition. "Yes," he said quietly. Lena nodded once even though he could not see her. Of course she did. Women always learned about each other eventually. Secrets rarely survived the practical details of real life. "She left the voicemail today?" "Yes." "Why?" "I don't know." But Lena thought he probably did. Or almost did. There was always a moment before collapse when everyone involved sensed something shifting and pretended not to. She ended the call without saying goodbye. For several seconds, she remained motionless behind the wheel while rain threaded down the windshield. Then she started the engine. As the heater pushed warm air into the cold interior, her phone lit once more with a message from Adam. "Drive safe." Lena stared at the words until the screen dimmed. 12 years together, and even now he remembered the small habits of caring automatically. That was the terrible part. If he had become cruel, leaving might have felt clean. Instead, somewhere beneath the betrayal, he was still the man who worried about wet roads at night.